Hello.
Still walking?
Yes. Oh my God, this was a good surprise.
Picture the moment. July 2nd, 2026. The WTA releases its official player field announcement for the Mubadala Citi DC Open, and then one headline immediately grabs attention. 5 names appear together: Svitolina, Kostyuk, Osaka, Eala, Venus. A 21-year-old from Quezon City, ranked world number 32, suddenly finds herself mentioned in the same announcement as a 7-time Grand Slam champion and a former world number 1. For the Filipino tennis community and the global supporters who had waited for a moment like this for generations, it was a powerful symbol of how far Eala had come. What many dreamed of seeing had now become reality, officially written into the WTA's own tournament announcement. Yet the woman at the center of the story was still only days away from the defeat that would reveal exactly why this next tournament mattered so much. The question now became the one every fan wanted to debate. Could Eala make a deep run in Washington, reach the semifinals, and build the momentum needed for a career-high ranking push before the US Open? To understand the importance of this moment, the story had to go back to July 7th and center court at Wimbledon. Eala walked away from the biggest stage of her career after a 4-6, 6-4 defeat to Jasmine Paolini in the 4th round. It was her first ever Grand Slam 4th round appearance, a milestone that had already placed her name in Philippine tennis history. Cameras captured the emotion on her face as she fought back tears during the changeover, but when she faced the media afterward, Eala refused to let disappointment define the moment. Instead of making excuses or searching for reasons behind the loss, she showed the same maturity that had impressed fans throughout the tournament. She acknowledged that it was a difficult match, praised Paolini's performance, and explained that she had given everything she had on the court. There were no injury explanations, no complaints, and no attempt to minimize her opponent's achievement. She focused on the positives, the lessons learned, and the progress she had made during an unforgettable Wimbledon campaign. Shortly afterward, Eala announced that she would take a scheduled 3-week break, not as a step away from competition, but as an opportunity to recover, reset, and return stronger. 20 days later, that reset would lead her directly to Washington. The timing could not have been more important. Just days before the Paolini battle, Eala had achieved what many considered impossible. Under the bright lights of center court, she delivered one of the biggest performances of her young career by defeating defending Wimbledon champion Iga Swiatek. She remained fearless under pressure, winning the opening set 7-6 after a dramatic 9-point tiebreak before completing the victory with a commanding 6-2 second set. It was a performance that announced her arrival on tennis's biggest stages and proved that she could compete with the very best players in the world. Now, heading into Washington, the expectations were higher than ever. The tournament represented more than just another stop on the WTA calendar. It was an opportunity for Eala to prove that Wimbledon was not a one-time breakthrough but the beginning of a new chapter. With elite names like Svitolina, Kostyuk, Osaka, and Venus Williams also in the field, the challenge was enormous. But so was the opportunity. For a player who had already rewritten history, Washington offered another chance to continue building her legacy, climb the rankings, and show the tennis world that Eala belonged among the sport's biggest names. The biggest upset of the entire tournament. That is the Eala arriving in Washington, D.C. She is no longer a hopeful qualifier searching for an opportunity, and she is not simply a wild card hoping to make noise. She enters the Mubadala Citi DC Open as a direct entrant, carrying the confidence of a Grand Slam round of 16 appearance and one of the biggest victories of her career on the sport's most historic grass courts. The player walking into Washington is completely different from the young prospect who first arrived on tour. She is now a proven competitor who has already shown she can defeat elite opponents on the biggest stages, but waiting for her at Rock Creek Park is a challenge unlike anything she has faced before. The tournament features one of the deepest fields of her career, with 7 top 20 players included in a 28-player singles draw. World number 8 Alina Svitolina enters as the projected top seed, while former world number 1 Naomi Osaka, Marta Kostyuk, and legendary 7-time Grand Slam champion Venus Williams, receiving a wild card at 46 years old, add even more star power to the competition. Defending champion Leylah Fernandez also arrives with plenty at stake, protecting 305 ranking points and fighting to maintain her position in the rankings. And in the same section of the draw sits Jasmine Paolini, the player who ended Eala's historic Wimbledon run just days earlier. Reports circulating through Filipino tennis media suggested that the total commitment for the tournament was valued at more than $1 million, while official WTA figures listed the overall 500-level event prize purse at over $1.6 million. Regardless of the exact numbers, one thing was clear: this would not be an easy return after Wimbledon. This was not a comfortable transition tournament or a chance for Eala to slowly rebuild confidence. It was one of the strongest hard-court fields she had ever entered, and she would have to face the challenge without a seeding beside her name. Then comes the number that changes the entire equation: 0. That is the amount of ranking points Alex Eala is defending throughout the entire North American hard-court swing. Washington, Montreal, Cincinnati, and the US Open all represent opportunities for pure progress. Every victory adds to her ranking total. Every deep run creates another career milestone. There is no pressure of defending previous success, only the possibility of gaining ground. Meanwhile, players like Leylah Fernandez are fighting to protect points earned from previous tournaments, creating a completely different dynamic on the rankings table. Two players in the same tournament, but moving in opposite directions. One trying to defend what she already has, the other chasing everything she has yet to achieve. Now imagine the atmosphere inside Rock Creek Park during the final week of July. Temperatures pushing above 90 degrees, heavy humidity creating exhausting conditions, and thousands of Filipino-American supporters arriving from Maryland, Virginia, and Washington, D.C., to witness another historic moment. The energy surrounding Eala had grown far beyond the tennis court. According to reports highlighting the massive Filipino turnout during her grass court season, supporters had followed her journey with incredible passion, turning every match into a celebration of national pride. For Eala, Washington was more than just another WTA tournament. It was the next test after Wimbledon, the first opportunity to prove that her Grand Slam breakthrough was only the beginning. She arrived carrying confidence, history, and the support of an entire community behind her. But standing across the net would be some of the toughest competitors in the world, making the DC Open not just a tournament, but a defining moment in the continued rise of Alex Eala. Flags waving throughout the stands, chants echoing across the practice courts, and homemade signs appearing during every changeover. The Filipino supporters were not planning to stay home for Alex Eala's return. They had followed her journey through Wimbledon, witnessed history being made, and now they were ready to bring that same energy to Washington, D.C. The connection between Eala and her supporters had grown into something much bigger than tennis. Every appearance became a celebration, every match became a shared experience, and every victory represented a moment of pride for a global Filipino community watching her rise. The timeline alone showed just how quickly Eala's career had accelerated. On Monday, June 30th, she entered Wimbledon ranked world number 32. Just days later, on Friday, July 4th, she stepped onto center court and delivered one of the biggest performances of the tournament by defeating a six-time Grand Slam champion. Then, on Monday, July 7th, her Wimbledon campaign came to an end after a dramatic three-set battle. By Wednesday, July 29th, she was already back competing at a WTA 500 event. This was not the usual progression of a young player slowly climbing through the rankings. This was a rapid transformation happening in real time, a level of experience and pressure that many players never encounter in an entire season, let alone within a single month. And that pattern is what makes Eala's rise so significant. Her breakthrough was not built around one lucky tournament or one unexpected result. The Miami Open semifinal earlier in the season, the career-high ranking of number 29 achieved in March, the Berlin wildcard opportunity that became a major statement, and the Wimbledon round of 16 run were not separate moments. They were connected milestones forming the same upward trajectory. Each performance added another piece of evidence that Eala was developing into a serious force on the WTA tour. The supporters who predicted months earlier that Alex Eala was experiencing a true breakthrough were not simply following emotion or national pride. They were recognizing the numbers, the results, and the consistency before the wider tennis world fully acknowledged what was happening. The WTA's own tournament announcement became another sign of that growing recognition. Her name was no longer appearing only in discussions about future potential, it was being placed alongside established stars. But waiting in the same tournament bracket was a familiar challenge, Jasmine Paolini. The Italian star had reached the Roland Garros final, competed in a Wimbledon final, and previously climbed as high as world number 4. A possible rematch between Paolini and Eala added another layer of intrigue to the tournament. Grass may have created unpredictable battles where anything can happen, but hard courts are where Eala's aggressive style, movement, and shot-making ability could truly shine. If the draw unfolded according to expectations, the two could potentially meet again in the quarterfinals. This time, however, there would be no long break waiting afterward. No extended reset period. Just another opportunity to prove how much she had grown. The strongest endorsement in this story did not come from a retired champion or a famous analyst. It came from the organization that runs the sport itself. The Women's Tennis Association, the governing body responsible for the professional women's game, including rankings, tournament structures, and player fields, placed Eala's name in the same July 2nd headline as global icons like Venus Williams and Naomi Osaka. She was not included as a simple prospect, a future star, or a player mentioned in passing. She was part of the main headline, when the organization responsible for managing hundreds of professional careers chooses to feature a 21-year-old Filipina ranked outside the top 30 alongside legends and former champions. It represents something much bigger than promotion. It reflects a growing level of recognition. It shows that Eala's journey had reached a point where she was no longer just chasing attention, she was becoming part of the conversation herself. Adding even more significance to the story was the reporting from Yahoo Sports in June, which highlighted how Rafael Nadal had reportedly taken a personal interest in Eala's development during her time training at the Rafa Nadal Academy in Mallorca. The connection between one of tennis' greatest champions and one of the sport's fastest rising young talents only added another layer to the growing belief surrounding her potential. The message was becoming clearer. The people who understand elite tennis at the highest level were not simply waiting to discover whether Eala belonged among the best players in the world. They were already recognizing her progress, following her journey, and acknowledging the work that had brought her to this stage. The support from the Filipino community told a story that the ranking board had not completely reflected yet. The flags, the chants, and the passion from supporters around the world showed that Eala's impact extended beyond numbers. She had become a symbol of possibility for an entire nation and an inspiration for young athletes who dreamed of reaching the highest levels of sport. Her rise was no longer just a tennis story, it had become a cultural moment. But Washington was only the beginning of the next challenge. After the DC Open came the major North American hardcourt stretch. Montreal in early August, Cincinnati shortly after, and then the US Open in New York later that month. For Eala, the final Grand Slam of the season carried special significance. It would mark her first direct main draw entry into a Grand Slam as a ranked player, not as a wild card, not as a qualifier, but as someone who had earned her place through her ranking and performances. That achievement alone represented a historic step for both Eala and Southeast Asian tennis. For years, the region had searched for a women's player capable of becoming a consistent global name on the WTA Tour. Now, Eala had emerged as that possibility. Her journey represented a breakthrough not only for herself but for an entire region looking for representation at the highest level of professional tennis. Every tournament, every ranking point, and every major victory continued to strengthen the belief that she could become one of the sport's most recognizable figures. Her growing commercial impact was also impossible to ignore. With major supporters and partnerships already behind her, including Globe Telecom, which supported her from a young age, along with global brands such as Nike, Babolat, and BPI, this summer represented a potential turning point. The results she produced on court would influence not only her ranking but also the next stage of her professional growth and future opportunities. A deep run in Washington would mean far more than a few additional ranking points. Reaching the quarterfinals could dramatically improve her position, while a semi-final appearance could put her within reach of another career-high ranking before the US Open even began. Every victory had the potential to create momentum, increase global attention, and strengthen her position among the rising stars of women's tennis. And then came the contrast that made the story even more compelling. Just days earlier, Eala had been walking away from center court at Wimbledon with tears in her eyes after one of the toughest losses of her young career. Only a few days before that, she had stunned the tennis world by defeating defending champion Iga Swiatek and creating one of the biggest moments of the tournament. Now, just weeks later, she was preparing to return to competition in the American capital, unseeded, facing one of the strongest fields of her career, with Jasmine Paolini, the player who